Hi everyone, now today's a bit of a special occasion. Now for a lot of you that follow my sort of recipes that I do and the videos I put out, you'll realise this is my 100th video. So I thought I'd better do a little bit of a celebration. Now I'm not going to sort of get the cakes and the sort of candles and all that sort of stuff. What we're going to be doing is cooking up a really nice meal. Now first of all we're going to make a starter, a main dish and a pudding. So you've got a whole lot. Because, maybe you want to do a dinner party and want a few ideas. Now, to celebrate the fact that we've got to this milestone of 100 videos, I thought I'd, actually celebrate by going out, buying a new camera. So what we're going to do to celebrate this momentous occasion is to change over from the old camera, which looks like this, to the new camera, which looks like that. Now we switched over to the new camera, I thought we'd just get on with the video because, we've got a lot of cooking to do here and, it takes a little bit of time, so let's get on with the cooking. Now I'm just going to run you through the 3 courses. Now what we're going to serve up for a starter, we're going to get some mushrooms, and what we're going to do is fill those with a sort of garlic and parsley buttery sort of mixture, put those in, and we're going to put them in some egg and breadcrumbs, fry them up, delicious. They only take about 5 minutes to prepare and 5 minutes to serve up. So really quick, you can do those in no time at all. Now for the main dish, what we're going to be cooking up is some beautiful pieces of lamb. Now I've actually got some lamb shanks, and what we're going to do is add that with some vegetables and red wine and stock and beautiful flavours, and it's just going to cook away for the best part of 2.5 to 3 hours. And when you cut into that meat, it just falls apart, melts in your mouth. It's beautiful. Now the final thing we're going to be making up is actually the dessert. That is going to be a blueberry cheesecake. Really, really quick recipe. Delicious though. So now we know the sort of 3 courses we're going to be making for this sort of kind of dinner party celebration. First of all, because they take the longest, I'm actually going to get on with cooking the lamb shanks first. So let's start off, just try and get a little bit of salt on there because we've got to kind of season these up. Now I'm just going to put a little bit on my hand there. I'm actually going to pick these up and I'm just going to rub them, try and rub it all into the actual meat and get the base there, rub that bit of salt in, and again get some more in your hand. And I'm just going to do this with all the lamb shanks. So try and just rub it everywhere. So now I've got the salt in there, I've just got some ground pepper, freshly ground pepper. So again, just going to sprinkle that over, try and pick it up, and just really turn them to try and get all those flavours in there. Rub them into each one, because it's the best way of getting the flavour in there. And once you've got the salt and the black pepper all rubbed in, we're pretty much ready for cooking. So we're going to get on with sort of browning off the lamb shanks first of all. So let's put the heat on. I'd say fairly high, medium to high really. And we're going to put some oil in there. Now I'm going to use a bit of sunflower oil. You can use vegetable oil or any oil you like really, but make sure you've got enough there just to sort of cover the base. Now I'm actually going to be cooking sort of 4 lamb shanks here. So what I would say is, depending on the size of your pan, you could just do 1 at a time, or you could do maybe 2 at a time. I think I'll actually do 2. See if I can squeeze 2 in there. Just leave those cooking away and just turn them around every sort of minute or 2, just to kind of build up a little bit of colour all around. So I've got my lamb shanks and I've been cooking for a few minutes, turn them over, just trying to build up that colour really. Now I did consider when I was doing this recipe in sort of dusting them off in flour, but the only thing you've got to be careful when you do that is if the oil is really hot, which it usually is when you're trying to brown the sort of meat off, sometimes the flour burns. So I found the best way is not to put any flour on it, just sort of build the colour up on the meat and do that for 5 or 6 minutes. Just going to turn mine over because I think really we're getting a really nice colour. Look at that, beautiful. That's what you want. Nice colour on the outside, keep those flavours in there, and once we've done that we're going to take those 2 out and do the other 2 lamb shanks. I'm just going to pick those up and put them on their end next. So I'll just do this for another minute or two, and then we're going to pull those out and do the other two. So I've been cooking for about 5 or 6 minutes. Now I think I've got a really nice colour on these, so let's carefully just take those out. Look at that. At the bottom there you've got a beautiful colour. Take those out. Now obviously I've got another 2 to do, so put those aside and let's get on with the other 2 as well. So I've got all the lamb shanks done. This is the other 2. So I'm just going to pick those up and put them on the same sort of plate. Kind of brown them off. Next to go in is going to be a little bit of butter and then the onions. I'm just going to quickly cover up the lamb shanks, just very loosely, so they sit there and, you know, they keep a little bit warm. So I'm just going to put in a little bit of butter in there. Just let that melt just slightly, and then we're going to put straight in with the sliced up onions, red onion. And again, I've got the celery there as well, and the leeks. Just put those in. And then just going to put in the carrots, which have been sort of sliced. Now again, just give those a quick stir up. And what we want to do is just trying to, you know, soften them down really. I'd say for about 5 minutes. So I've been cooking up all that mixture for about 5 minutes really, just to kind of soften it and get all those flavours. Now what I'm going to do is make a little place in the middle there, and I'm just going to put in 5 cloves of garlic. So there's a good bit of garlic in there. So leave that in the middle so you can kind of keep an eye on it. Don't let it burn, just let all the flavours come out of there, and then we can kind of mix it all up. So again, just give that a stir around. We're at about the 6 minute stage, so 6 minutes in total. That's it. Smelling really nice now. So I'm just going to give that a good stir around, get it all mixed up now. Smells so good, so good. Now I'm just going to spread that out, and what we're going to do is to put the lamb shanks on top of that lot. So I've got the lamb shanks there. Look at that, beautiful. Now let's just try and lay those down however we can get them in the pot, because that is the thing, when you make these you can start putting so much stuff in the pot that you just can't fit it in, so you've got to kind of plan it a little bit. Look at that, got them in. I don't think I could have fitted any more in there. And don't forget we've got the mushrooms to go yet, and all the liquid. So I've got those in there. Next thing, I've got me wine there, so a good full-bodied red wine. And I would say about 2/3 of a bottle of wine. Let's have a look. No, a bit more yet. You want plenty of wine in this dish. A little tiny bit more. I've got to leave a glass for the end, you know, when I sort of serve it all up. Then I'm going to put the beef stock in. Now, we really want to have enough in there that it kind of, I was going to say actually sort of comes just to where the meat is. So I'm going to add a little bit of extra water into that mix. Now I'm just going to top it up, but I'm going to use an extra stock cube rather than just put plain water in there. I'm just going to quickly mix it up, and then we pour an extra bit of stock in there, beef stock. Just going to pour that in, just see if we've got enough. That will do. Now we've also got the rosemary. See, I've got a couple of sprigs of rosemary, so just put that in. Really nice. Goes really, really well with lamb. Then I've got the thyme. I'd say roughly about half the amount of thyme. Just the leaves. Put those in. And I've got a few bay leaves there. I'm going to put a good splodge of tomato puree. I mean, when I say that, I'd say at least 1/3 of a tube. Maybe a little bit more even. Just to give it some real richness and kind of, you know, a little bit on the flavour. And then finally, just about the last thing I'm going to fit in there is those button mushrooms. I'm just going to give those a very gentle stir, and then I'm going to put a lid on it and just bring it up to the boil, just to try and get everything mixed up really. So put a lid on it. As soon as it comes to a boil, Then we're going to put it into a preheated oven. So just gently, gently kind of push it all down. Put it on the heat, put a lid on there and get that kind of just gently boiling. Don't let it overflow though. So mine's just about come to the boil. I'm going to turn that off quickly before it overboils. Now what I'm going to do is just give it a very gentle stir just to make sure everything's kind of mixed up. And then I'm going to put it into the preheated oven and we're going to cook this for about 2.5 to 3 hours. So let's put a lid on that, put it in the oven, preheated oven, and let that cook. And every half an hour what I'd recommend is take it out, just turn it over very slightly and make sure there's enough liquid in there. So I'm just going to open the oven and I'm going to put that pot, oh it's quite heavy, put that in there. Look at that, preheated oven. Now temperature wise I've put it in at 160 degrees Celsius, 325 Fahrenheit, which is gas mark 3, and as I say, every half an hour just check it, give it a very gentle stir and make sure there's enough liquid in there. Now in total I would say cook between 2.5 and probably 3 hours to make the meat beautiful and sort of melt in your mouth and fall off the bone, and it's just going to taste so lovely. Now this video is actually my 100th video and this is the first of 3 parts. So if you want to sort of see how we get on with making up the blueberry cheesecake and preparing the mushrooms and just start bringing this sort of dinner party recipe together, then just watch part 2 next and then finally watch part 3. Thanks for watching and see you again soon.